DiJonai Carrington's endorsement drama exploded after her controversial foul on Sophie Cunningham. During the Fever Sky matchup, Carrington's arm swung across and made heavy contact with Cunningham around the head and neck, sending her to the floor. What followed quickly became bigger than a single basketball play, sparking heated reactions, questions about Carrington's conduct, and a growing debate over the consequences for her reputation and brand. The game had already been physical, but this moment pushed the tension to another level. Carrington appeared to be focused on Cunningham rather than making a clear play on the ball, and the force of the contact made the incident impossible to ignore. It was far beyond an ordinary hand check or routine box out. It became one of the defining moments of the matchup. Carrington swung at Cunningham even though she wasn't attempting a shot, and the officials immediately went to the monitor. After reviewing the play, they came back with a flagrant 2, resulting in an automatic ejection. There was no second warning and no benefit of the doubt. The crew chief later explained that 3 factors made the call clear. Carrington's arm had a noticeable wind-up, there was direct contact to Cunningham's head and neck area, and the follow-through was dangerous enough to send her to the floor. The officials said the contact met the league's standard for excessive and unnecessary contact. This wasn't a controversial bang-bang play that required endless replays. It looked serious from the moment it happened. Cunningham quickly got back to her feet and confronted Carrington, visibly furious. Her teammate Michaela Timpson stepped in and pulled her away, while Fever security moved in to keep the players separated. Officials also clarified that Cunningham would not receive a technical foul for her reaction, saying her response to the severity of the contact was understandable. That detail matters because it showed just how seriously the officials viewed the incident. Then came another surprising moment. As Carrington walked through the tunnel after being ejected at Chicago's United Center, the crowd began cheering. Soon, the chants started, and they weren't for Carrington. The fans were chanting Cunningham's name, turning the ejection into one of the night's biggest moments. Chicago's own crowd appeared to turn against the situation in real time. This wasn't simply Indiana fans loudly supporting their favorite player, it was a Chicago crowd reacting to what they had just witnessed and making it clear they weren't interested in defending the foul. Stephanie White, who previously coached Carrington in Connecticut, took a measured approach after the game. She didn't attack Carrington personally, but she didn't try to justify the play either. White described it as a hard foul and said she didn't believe Carrington intentionally targeted Cunningham's neck. At the same time, she agreed with the officials' decision to eject her. White understood Carrington's competitive style and knew she wasn't going to simply allow an easy scoring opportunity. But despite that context and their history together, White reached the same conclusion as the officials. The ejection was the right call. So the sequence was clear: wind-up, contact, dangerous follow-through, flagrant 2, ejection, and a Chicago crowd chanting for the opposing player. There was little room for debate about the officials' decision, but the story didn't end when Carrington left the court. Minutes later, she took the controversy to social media, turning a heated basketball incident into a much bigger league-wide conversation. Just 2 words sparked the next wave of controversy: white privilege. Carrington posted the phrase on Threads shortly after leaving the court and directly tagged the Indiana Fever. Instead of keeping her frustration private, she placed the accusation publicly in front of the organization and its followers. Then, almost immediately, she followed it with another post that appeared to escalate the situation even further. Carrington then posted, August 23rd, along with a smiling emoji, the date of the next matchup between the two teams. To many viewers, that looked less like an emotional reaction and more like a message suggesting the controversy wasn't over yet. Cunningham didn't appear interested in escalating the situation. She said the league was already handling the incident and insisted that race had nothing to do with it. She also pointed out that she had previously been ejected for a similar type of foul and accepted the punishment without trying to shift the blame or turn the incident into something bigger. Cunningham's message was essentially that there was no reason to bring race into the discussion. She also explained that she had never even spoken to Carrington before and had no personal history or rivalry with her. In Cunningham's view, Carrington may simply have been carrying frustration into the moment. Her attitude was basically, say what you need to say, I can handle it. Stephanie White once again stayed focused strictly on the basketball play. She described the foul as hard, said she didn't believe Carrington intentionally targeted Cunningham's neck, but still maintained that the flagrant 2 ejection was the correct decision. She offered no public commentary on Carrington's social media posts. Then Emmanuel Archo addressed the controversy on national television and was for more direct. He criticized the use of the phrase white privilege, arguing that connecting the term to a basketball foul diminishes the meaning of a serious social issue. His argument was straightforward: the controversy should be judged by the physical play itself, the official's decision, and the consequences that followed, not by turning the incident into a racial accusation without evidence. Archo's argument was that Cunningham was hit without ever having possession of the ball, and that similar fouls have been committed by players from all backgrounds without race becoming part of the discussion. In his view, the incident should have remained about the basketball play and the official's decision. Carrington responded to Archo on X, accusing him of making assumptions and telling him to use critical thinking. She also referenced her Stanford education, arguing that she would not use a phrase like that without having a reason behind it. Archo pushed back, saying that people are responsible for the words they choose and that Carrington, not everyone else, had the responsibility to explain exactly what she meant. The exchange quickly divided social media. Some defended Carrington, arguing that she had every right to be frustrated with the officiating and the way the season had unfolded. Others viewed the post as an unnecessary escalation and believed the focus should have remained on the foul itself. That criticism became even stronger because Cunningham was the player on the receiving end of the contact. She was the one who took the hit and suffered the consequences, yet the conversation had shifted toward an accusation of privilege. Critics argued that Carrington was moving attention away from the play instead of simply accepting responsibility for what happened, and that's where the public reaction really began to change. What could have been another controversial foul in a long WNBA season suddenly became a much bigger debate about accountability, social media, race, and how players respond when emotions spill over beyond the court. The following morning, the incident could have faded from the headlines, but Carrington's social media post kept the controversy alive. It was picked up by national outlets and transformed what began as a hard foul into a much broader discussion about intent, race, and player accountability, an issue that continued to follow Carrington long after the game, and critics argued that this wasn't the first time Carrington had faced questions about her physical style of play. One controversial incident might be dismissed as an accident, but some fans pointed to a longer history of disputed plays involving the Fever. Over the past 2 seasons, Carrington has been involved in several physical moments that sparked debate, including incidents involving Caitlin Clark. Critics have pointed to contact around the head and face, aggressive screens, and other plays they believe crossed the line between intense defense and unnecessary contact. One moment that Fever fans frequently revisit came during the 2024 playoffs, when Carrington made contact with Clark's face during a possession. There was no immediate whistle or flagrant review during the sequence, and Clark simply moved away while appearing to react to the contact. The replay later generated significant discussion online. From certain angles, it appeared that Carrington's hand made direct contact with Clark's face near the eye. Supporters of Carrington viewed it as part of a physical defensive sequence, while critics argued that the contact was unnecessary and deserved more attention from officials. That incident became another chapter in the growing debate over how physical play involving Clark was being officiated and whether similar situations were being treated consistently across the league. Critics argued that the contact involving Clark should have received more attention, but it didn't. When compared with the later incident involving Cunningham, the difference in the league's response became a major talking point. This time, the officials reviewed the play, issued a flagrant 2, and ejected Carrington, while the incident quickly attracted national attention and sparked a wider debate about intent and player safety that led to a question many fans began asking: why did it take such a highly publicized incident for Carrington's physical style of play to receive this level of scrutiny? For those critics, the earlier incident involving Clark should have served as a warning. Instead, they felt the controversy faded and the debate over Carrington's defensive style continued into the following season. That criticism also fed into a broader conversation about officiating around the Fever. Some fans believe Clark is frequently called for relatively routine contact, while they feel more controversial contact against her isn't always penalized consistently. Others argue that these comparisons are difficult to make without considering the exact circumstances of each play. The debate became even more complicated after a technical foul involving Clark earlier in the season was later rescinded following league review. For critics, that reversal was evidence that officials can get calls wrong in real time. For others, it simply demonstrated that the league's review process can correct mistakes after the fact. Either way, the combination of disputed calls, controversial physical plays, and social media reactions has kept the discussion surrounding the Fever and league officiating alive well beyond any single game. When you put the overturned call involving Clark next to the disputed contact involving Carrington, critics see what they believe is a consistency problem, not simply fans being overly protective of their favorite player. And the debate isn't only about popularity or which player receives the benefit of the doubt. Critics argue that